One of the most common questions we get at Audio Advice is, how should I allocate my home theater budget? The purpose of this video is to give you some insight into this process. To explore additional considerations in creating your dream home theater, check out our various home theater buyer's guides on audioadvice.com and even design your own home theater from scratch using our free 3D home theater design tool. Now let's get started. As with many things, a home theater is only as good as its weakest link. We find when most people start thinking about a new home theater, the first thing they research is the video portion. And there's a good reason for this. A large, high-resolution TV, or even better, a projector and screen combination will definitely put you right in the movie theater feel. However, our experience tells us that many people neglect to think about the audio enough. I suggest you try this little experiment. Watch one of your favorite movie scenes that contains some spoken voice. Try it the first time with the volume muted for just maybe a minute. Then watch it again with your eyes shut and the volume turned up. Most people are shocked by the relative impact of the audio versus the video. This simple experiment should show you how important great home theater audio will be for the best experience. Another thing to consider when budgeting your home theater is technology and its speed of change. There are parts of your home theater you only have to purchase once and they will last for decades, whereas others change quite often. It makes the most sense to make sure you do not scrimp on the things you may only have to buy once. First up is the display portion of your theater. We have an entire buying guide and video on how to select the best screen size, so I won't get into that here. In general, the larger your budget, the bigger the percentage of it you can allocate to the display. We say this because we run into so many people who have spent 75% or more of their budget on the TV and have far too little left to get any type of decent audio quality from the surround sound system. Our advice is, if you're allocating $10,000 or less for your entire home theater system, try not to spend more than about 30% of your budget on the display portion. For those of you with much larger budgets, you can then put a bigger percentage of your total budget into an amazing 2.4 widescreen front projection system, which obviously will cost more than an 85-inch flat panel. The screen is a super important part of the equation. Screen technology changes at a much slower rate than projector technology, so don't cut corners on your screen, as you will likely have it through multiple iterations of projectors. For a great home theater, you will need basic surround sound at a minimum. For the best Dolby Atmos system, you might have 16 or more speakers in your space. We have a really good article and video on speaker layout options at audioadvice.com if you want to learn more about that. We feel that sound is one of, if not the most important part of a home theater. With the occasional exception of subs, you should buy all of your speakers from the same brand so they are sound matched, and don't cut corners on the main front three speakers. If your budget is under $10,000, you should target allocating at least 40 to 50% of it to the speaker package. Good speakers will last for decades with little to no maintenance. If you buy good ones, you'll be happy with them for years to come. Next on the list is your receiver or separate components. These are the brains and power for your entire system. The technology in home theater receivers does change fairly often, as both video and audio formats are always improving. While some allow you to run software updates, most home theaters will improve substantially from a new receiver every 5 years or so, depending on how much you want to stay up to date. So we generally guide people to target about 30 to 35% of what you invested in your speakers and put it towards your home theater receiver. For those of you wanting a long-term investment with more funds to invest, consider separate components versus a receiver. This means you will have separate power amps to drive your speakers and a separate processor to do all of the audio and video decoding and switching. Power amps are like speakers. They last for decades, so they're a great long-term investment. Separates also normally sound far more powerful than receivers with built-in amplification. If you have a larger budget, consider separate components, as you can just replace the processor every few years if you want to have the latest and greatest. Now let's talk about sources. Years ago, home theater sources like Blu-ray players were a bigger part of the budget. In today's world, for most people, all you need is a Roku or Apple TV. It doesn't hurt to have a decent Blu-ray player, but you really don't have to allocate much of your budget at all for this part of your theater today. Next up is acoustics. This is the most overlooked part of a home theater. Your room has a huge impact on the final sound. Some rooms start out better than others, as they might have lots of soft surfaces and carpet to absorb reflections of sound. Others have bare walls and hard floors and need a lot of help. A well-designed acoustic package for your home theater will make a world of difference in the audio quality, especially in dialogue intelligibility. The good news is you do not have to spend a ton of money to get the job done. You can purchase acoustic panels for a reasonable price. Consider allocating about 5 to 10% of your budget on acoustic panels. Check out our guide to home theater acoustics at audioadvice.com if you want to learn more. Like acoustics, the electrical need of a home theater is something many people forget. In some neighborhoods, the AC power coming out of the wall can be weak or dirty. This may require some type of AC line conditioner. Be sure to research the total power needs of all your gear and make sure you think about the cost of adding a dedicated circuit if you need more power. We have a full article that breaks this down even further if you'd like to learn more about it. Another thing people will sometimes forget to budget for is cables. There's a big debate over the incremental value of increasingly higher quality speaker wire in sound, but whatever your personal value for better cables, the laws of physics say you want a large, heavy gauge wire for longer runs. Also, the HDMI cables need to be able to support the latest HDMI format of the day. If you need to run a long cable from your home theater receiver to your display, make sure the cable meets the spec for the distance. Sometimes these can cost more than you might expect. The longer the distance you need to run your speaker wires and HDMI cables, the more you should budget. We typically guide people to about 5 to 10% of the budget on cables. And like speakers, most theaters have the same speaker cable forever, so if you do it right from the get-go, that's the best. HDMI cables will change more than speaker cables over time, so plan out the ability to change the cable one day. The last thing to consider is home theater seating and various add-ons. Once you have your theater installed, it is going to get a lot of use and you will want comfortable seating. Really good home theater seats can cost upwards of thousands of dollars per seat. However, our #1 selling home theater seats by far are the Revolution home theater chairs. They have just hit an incredible sweet spot of comfort, capability, and price in the market. Also consider the cost of an all-in-one remote. Sure, you can operate your system just fine with a table full of remotes or a bunch of apps, but an all-in-one remote will make things a lot easier and everyone in the house will be able to easily use the room. I hope this brief overview of how to allocate your home theater budget has helped you out. There are a lot of things to consider when planning your home theater, so if you have any questions at all, please reach out to one of our home theater experts on audioadvice.com, give us a call, or stop by one of our award-winning Raleigh or Charlotte, North Carolina showrooms. We'll see you next time.